Good evening and welcome to my channel. Tonight we'll be continuing our story of the Hearts of Argyle Godfrey by Nicholas Leonard. Chapter 13. I was running late to Heart Full of Hands one night because I had to help my mom bring in the groceries, so I skipped up the front steps and into the church with quite a pep in my jog. Girls aren't described as maidens anymore. She was the maiden deemed extinct, a phantasmic extension of the church. She swept the altar sanctuary floors. It seemed the stained glass windows marveled at her hair, the color of a tangerine. Their reds and oranges could not compare. Her skin, a memory of Europe, pale. My heart's futile pepper's ghost effect. I couldn't quite discern if she was real. She stopped sweeping, and I got a moment to discern her features better. Her tangerine hair was short, seemingly previously bobbed, but then cut quite unprofessionally. She had jeans and a long-sleeved gray shirt that looked comfy on her. I wasn't expecting her to sound the way she did. All I can say is that she sounded cool, as in she sounded laid back, but her voice was also a little raspy, too. "Hello," she said, brown eyes beaming from the sanctuary of the altar and all the way towards me by the marble font of holy water. Hey! You must be here for Heart Full of Hands, are you?" "Uh-huh," I nodded. "They're all downstairs," she said with a smile. It seemed as if sweeping brought her immense well-being. "I'm Argyle," I heard myself say, and immediately regretted having spoken. "I'm Mary Keats, Ellen's granddaughter." "Oh," I said, wishing I sounded happier. "She's nice." "Mm-hmm. I help clean up at night, make the church look nice for the next morning. I like it best when they have Cub Scouts downstairs. They're so cute in their little uniforms." I don't know why, but I just stood there at the start of the aisle where the atrium of the church had teleported her voice to me. "I've never seen you here before." I recently joined. "No, I meant at Mass." She sounded sad. "It's not really my thing," I chuckled, the chuckle being some kind of defense mechanism. "Oh, well, don't rule it out. It can really help with whatever you're going through." I nodded, though a little skeptically. "Nice to meet you, Mary Keats." And I started making my way down the aisle in her direction, anxious to turn and head towards the church basement. Her voice stopped me just before I could enter the church basement. "What's wrong with you, may I ask, so I can say a prayer for you?" I turned around. You wouldn't know it, but I have a prosthetic leg." "Oh, wow, and you walk so well. Do you need help down the stairs?" I smiled and shook my head. "No, thank you. I'm good. I've got the hang of this." "Well, I'll still say a prayer for you. What's your name again?" "Argyle Godfrey." She repeated it, my name so special clashing against her teeth and coming out into the church. "Argyle, it's nice to meet you." "You too," I said. "Well, see you around." I was hesitant, but I thanked her again and continued towards downstairs, hearing the sound of her going back to sweeping as I did so. One of the old-timers was at the podium speaking when I came down. Demi had her arms folded. Beside her was an empty seat. "What the hell happened to you?" she whispered. I exhaled. "I think I saw an angel." My mom was still up when I got home, and I think I still had that dumbfounded look on my face. "Mom." "Yes, honey?" "I saw a girl." "Saw?" "Yes." "Well," she looked down from her book. "What was special about her?" I shook my head. Mom, her immediate visage made me forget that I was heartless. For the briefest of moments, as I stood there in the church, it was like my spirit was constructed of every breath of fresh air I had ever taken." My mother cushioned her scolding. "Argyle." "I'm serious, Mom." "You should still give yourself some time. You've only been apart from Aurora for almost 2 months now. You need time, and you have some big life changes coming up." "What if this woman is the life change?" I queried, not just her, but myself. "Did you even get her name?" "Yes, I did." I said a bit too proudly, as if I had asked for her name while a suit of armor plated my body, and my hair swept down the back of my neck. Her name is Mary Keats, the granddaughter of the woman who leads most of St. Anne's support groups. And how old is Mary Keats? I think around my age. Is she any good at shopping for groceries? Mom, I groaned, getting a little flabbergasted. I don't know. I don't know her yet. I'm just smitten. Then she took a deep breath. Just be careful, Argyle. Maybe you should get some sleep. I did so, or tried, for images of Mary plagued my mind. I visualized her gardening my chest, and saw tulips beneath her palm abide. Perhaps my hollow chest was not an empty mansion, but a greenhouse after all. But was my muscle lusty enough to field, to plow, to rake, to hollow out for seeds, the way I hollowed out the tiny grave I hid and left my vitric heart inside? I pictured Mary gardening my chest, so that my spirit like a bee could thrive, something to fill my chest with noise again. My eyes shot open in the darkness of my bedroom. You wouldn't know it, but I have a prosthetic leg. I had lied to this woman barely 2 minutes into knowing her, and lying to a creature like that, how heartless was that? I felt unworthy of her face's grant. Her face so innocent displayed delight, something I had defiled heartlessly. I had no way of knowing that Mary Keats worked at a florist, the same way I had no way of knowing Aurora Oleander had been a narcissist. But this time the revelation was different, because I had literally imagined her tending to rows of beds of flowers in my chest. The following Sunday, I shaved and put on a red polo shirt and khaki pants, and drove over to St. Anne's, which was bustling with old people and young families with toddlers not yet inclined to understand Jesus' sacrifice, with the older couples outnumbering the young. I parked in the parking lot across the street, crossing it to join the masses filing into church. St. Anne's lawns were a dark green, just a little darker than the grasses of Pine Grove Cemetery, and here a life-size statue of the Virgin Mother Mary oversaw the lawns. She was a pale marble white, making it seem as though she sacrificed all her colors for the lawn to be that green. I almost stopped to marvel at her, but I saw a woman in a white sundress with patterns of pink flowers on it, tending to the beds of flowers on the lawn. It was Mary Keats. And though she had evidently washed and brushed her hair, there was the accidental punk rock elements of split ends. If the statue of the Virgin Mother could move, then I think she would have tended to all the old people the way Mary Keats tended to the flowers. Seeing her at the foamy tide of pink, purple, and white flowers was so different from standing over the hole in Pine Grove Cemetery. She looked into the filing crowd, back to the flowers, and did a double take to see me standing there. Like a flower in fast motion, a smile opened up her face before she excitedly waved me up onto the church lawn. And forgetting I supposedly had a prosthetic leg, I stepped up onto the lawn and made my way to her. The last minute I remembered, and even faked a limp. "Argyle," she said a little shrilly with excitement. "You came." I shrugged. "I wanted to try again." "Oh my goodness," she said, pausing to look at the brown exterior of St. Anne's and the stained glass windows which looked raw and rustic from the outside. "This is so great. I think you're going to really love it." I smiled and nodded, hands in my pockets. "Did you plant these?" I inquired. "I did. It's a tradition from my grandmother started." "Are you a woman all about tradition?" "I am, but I'm also a florist. I work at that one on Broadway Street." "Oh, so that's not that far away from here," I said, sounding as if that was a wonderful miracle. She nodded. I was looking down at the lawn. "So, I don't really know anyone here. Could I sit with you this morning?" "Oh, I'm going to be in the choir." "You sing?" "Mostly gospel," she answered a bit bashfully. "Well, I'm excited to hear you." "Thanks." Her smile was genuine. Then it turned into something similar to a gasp when she looked down at my leg. "You managed to walk up here. Can you drive?" "Yes, I can drive." She kicked her foot to the side, and I think she wanted to ask how I lost my leg, but she was just too polite to do so. So she twiddled with her fingers instead. How long have you had your leg?" "1 year and 2 months, I said, my voice hideous with the truth. I hadn't had my heart inside me for a year and 2 months. I looked at her face and tricked myself into pretending she knew what I meant, pretending that she knew and accepted me, and pretending that she was ready to fearlessly accept me. She cringed. "Oh, you poor thing." I wished I was a flower. It's fine, really. I've adjusted." "Some of the people in Heartful of Hands have family members accompany them. Do you have anyone who supports you?" "I mean, they're pretty friendly down there. My mom supports me. She attends the meetings with you?" "Oh, no, I go alone." "Argyle," she whined. I thought she was about to step forward and touch my shoulder, but she didn't. "I tell you what," she said. "Why don't I attend one of those meetings? As a kind of sponsor?" I think my eyes popped out of my head. No, it's fine." "Are you shy?" "No, I just would prefer to go alone." A beautiful sadness came over here. No one should go through difficult things alone. It pained me, but I had to dissuade her. "Well, I'm not really alone down there. Really, Mary, I appreciate the thought, but I'm fine." This pained me even more because imagining Mary at my side as if I was her flowers incarnated into a living man filled a hole within my chest. I imagined her nails tickling so lightly on my cheek as if to check the health of a petal. "Well, if you need anyone, just let me know, okay?" I nodded. "Okay, Mary, thank you. I guess I'll see you in there." And I started limping across the lawn to where the old people were still snailing into the church after having gotten snared in gossip. As I limped away, every step making me feel guiltier and guiltier, I realized that she wasn't bestowing the offer because she liked me or anything like that, but she offered her support because that was just the kind of person that she was. A good person, a florist, a Christian. Being a florist, she dealt with heartless things as plants and flowers don't have hearts. She would have offered her support to a skeleton if she thought it was alive. As I shuffled into the church and christened myself with holy water, I was reminded of the white roses at that wedding I had attended over a year ago, and how much I related to the drooping flowers. I could barely digest any of the readings because of how guilty I felt. I did my best to try not to pick out Mary's voice whenever the organ told the choir to sing, but it was distinctive on my soul. Her voice was that of a rock and roll vocalist who turned incredibly humble, and it blended in with the others, but I sensed it there. Despite the pastry light the stained glass baked, despite the airy hymns the choir sang, despite the promise of the organ pipes, I felt I was imposing on the good. A child in the pew before me stared with uncertainty, making him look very serious before his mother tapped his shoulder and he turned around to face front. These people had a heart the Lord could fill. The stained glass resonated with me more. I was an Aztec sacrifice instead. Still, I pretended to read along with who was reading and mumbled the Our Father, remembering the words from having taken my first communion. And I took communion too, looking into the separate line that the choir singers got in to receive the Eucharist. Mary Keats blessed herself with the graceful fingers of a puppeteer. Her strings would never cross and make her trip. I more so mimicked her than anything else when I received communion. Maybe it was the illusion of the sunlight, but I felt good walking out of church. So good that I forgot to limp. It seemed as though the sun had gotten a second purpose, one unknown to mortals, and there was no resisting it. I looked over my shoulder before crossing the street to try and see Mary Keats' tangerine hair in the crowd of old folks. But she was a little short, and had she been lost in the crowd, she might have been a little hard to pick out. So I crossed the street, got in my car, drove home, and waited for my 3:30 shift at Stop and Shop. Everyone who I had worked with and met at Stop and Shop were good people. Even some of the crackheads that came through the store had a heart somewhere inside them. But that afternoon, I just so happened to meet another heartless person that inhabits the earth. Heartless like Aurora might have been, except this time it was more out in the open. "Someone from corporate wants to see you for a little bit," Heidi told me before I got the chance to put the neon vest on. I followed her as she led me through the break room and into a kind of back room area, which I hadn't been in since I got the job. I went into a little office where a bald man in a suit was on a computer chair, surrounded by a busy counter space and computer with a spreadsheet on the screen. Heidi left me there. "Mr. Godfrey," the bald man said, sounding delighted to see me. "Come on in. Have a seat." I did, though rather carefully, very carefully. "I understand you've been with us for a while," he said while typing something into the spreadsheet, making it known I was not his most important business at the moment. "I have, sir. A couple of years now." "You like it?" I shrugged, only using my head. "It keeps me fit. You're all very nice to me." "Well, as you know, we at Stop & Shop are very thankful for all our employees," he said, sounding somewhat rehearsed. Then his attention snapped onto me as if we were getting to his favorite part of the meeting. "I understand you have a pretty big surgery getting up. Is it all right if I ask which?" "If things go as planned, sir, I'll be getting a new heart." How artificial his marveling was. "Wow, a new heart. Who wouldn't like that? Now, do you know how long it takes for one to recover from a heart transplant surgery?" "No, sir." "Several months. I've looked it up on your behalf. I understand sometimes your job is very taxing. You spend almost 7 hours most days on your feet, walking, trudging along, pushing 4 or 5 carts at a time." I did not like the babying nature he was putting into his words. For some reason, I remembered the day Aurora surprised me at work, and I remembered how excitedly I told her about the time I managed to push 13 or 14 carts across the parking lot and into the store, not 4 or 5. "I'd imagine you would need at least 6 months to be ready for some strenuous work like that again," the bald man exclaimed. "Now, you've been with us for a long time. I'm sure you understand, and you would want the store to keep prospering without you. So we've started posting cart attendant jobs on Indeed, and we've been getting some pretty good applicants." I felt my eyelids flutter on my eyes as if to hasten what I would behold. The man continued. "Now, do you have any idea of when your surgery will be, Mr. Godfrey?" No, I'm on the waiting list." "Cheer up. That new heart will come sooner than you think. But in the meantime, you might want to prepare yourself for a new job." I swallowed. "New job?" "Sir, isn't it illegal to do what I think you're about to do?" "Argyle, we aren't letting you go because of your upcoming surgery. No, that's not at all the reason. There are many reasons for a company to post job listings for positions that are already filled, and we simply have just gotten some very promising applicants." I felt the air earthquaking in my throat. My Adam's apple undecided bounced. "What are you saying, man?" "I'm saying to just be prepared if we end up letting you go in the coming weeks." "Because I'm suddenly a liability," I muttered. No, Mr. Godfrey, that's simply not the case." "You shut the hell up, Dr. Phil," I snapped. He gasped like an old lady. I stood up, called him a very bad name, and left. I speed-walked into the dairy aisle and grabbed a container of banana and vanilla-flavored Greek yogurt. I had lied to a faithful creature. Why not lie to Heidi? "This yogurt was stocked in the wrong aisle," I said when she passed me. I went back up into the break room, down the hall, and into the back room area, where I promptly entered the little office. The lid popped off the container while something came over me, while the corporate gargle struggled back in his computer chair as if I had just drawn a gun. "Here," I exclaimed, dunking the yogurt on his bald head. "Have some yogurt." I stopped and read the container while rubbing the yogurt into his dome. "Contains probiotics, iodine." Greek yogurt splattering everywhere while he squirmed, while I pushed my palm so firmly down on his head that it might have crushed one of his vertebrae. "Heart healthy, huh? What about that? Here, have some more. It's good for you." I dug my hand into the container, scooped out that last gunk of yogurt, and slapped it onto his head. "Security!" he squealed. With remaining gunk clinging to my hands, I slapped my hand across his face. Greek yogurt spattering onto my own face. I slapped him again. "Stinky little boy," I said under my breath. He took an audible deep breath as if having come up from underwater. "Gah!" He popped up. "Security!" The officer came rushing down the hall, skidding to a halt. "Argyle?" the officer murmured. "Get this man out of here! Terminate him!" the old man shouted through a veil of yogurt which draped his face like bumps of tumors. "I'm sorry, Argyle," the officer said, and he sounded a lot more genuine than the man I had just given the ultimate makeover. I saw myself out. "Argyle, where are you going?" Heidi asked. "Home," I murmured. Then my voice shook as I slowly came out of my heartless episode. "I'm sorry, Heidi." "Argyle!" but I was walking out of the store. And you know something? The sun was very bright that day. Some of the customers who recognized me slowed down on their way into the store. This included the mom who had hugged me out of the blue one day, and an old man who I always helped walk into the store. They all looked baffled and worried while I kept an unperturbed look of seriousness on my face. I was done. I had a strange gusto on my way to my car, something making my steps eerily springy. I definitely did not have a prosthetic leg. I was both satisfied and, well, I felt doomed. Utterly doomed, even though the sun was very bright. Thus ends Chapter 13 of the Hearts of Argyle Godfrey by Nicholas Leonard.